Hi, I'm Christy and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you've never been here before. In today's video, I have a bunch of Halloween or spooky romance recs for you. So since it is spooky season, I thought it'd be really fun to give you about 20 plus recs, whether they take place on Halloween, they have more like just paranormal, rom-com lighter vibes. I have some that are just paranormal creatures, so like vampires, werewolves, demons, witches. I have some with just more gothic vibes. I even have some historical romance spooky vibes. And then I have some series as well to check out. So since I have about 20 to talk about, we're just going to jump right into it. So first up, I'm going to share the recs that actually take place on Halloween or around Halloween. The first one is Mating the Huntress by TALIA HIBBERT. So this one is a Halloween-centered romance with that fated mate's vibe. The hero is a werewolf and he is just like a cinnamon roll shapeshifter, and the heroine is actually a huntress trying to track him down and end him. So this one has a really fun setting. The heroine works at a coffee shop that her parents own, and the hero knows that they are mates, and so he is trying to kind of get up the nerve to ask her out. So he keeps coming to the coffee shop and trying to, figure out ways to talk to her. He definitely doesn't want to freak her out or come on too strong, so he even Googles things like how to ask a woman out without fearing for her life. So the heroine is a human woman, and the hero actually doesn't know that she is a trained huntress and knows that he is a monster. So the heroine actually comes from a family of hunters and huntresses, but she's not allowed to hunt. Basically, on the day of her birth, an oracle told her family that if she was ever to become a huntress, her first kill would rip out her heart. So now she's super determined to prove the oracle and her family wrong and show them that she can, be a huntress. I love this one because the heroine is super bloodthirsty, and instead of the hero being afraid of that or kind of like creeped out by her trying to attack him, it actually like turns him on. He really enjoys that's how bloodthirsty she is. This was just the perfect mix of swoony and sweet and just put a smile on my face the entire read. Next up is Halloween Boo by Sarah Spade. This is on KU. So this one is a ghost hero, mortal human heroine romance on Kindle Unlimited. This one is actually a Hocus Pocus fanfic, complete with all of the references. So at the beginning of the story, Danny is the heroine and she moves to Salem, and she is very anti-Halloween, anti all the things spooky that the town is known for. When the story starts, she is firmly believing that her apartment is haunted. So she jokingly nicknames the ghost Casper because he does like super friendly and sweet things around her apartment. Like he leaves her rose petals around the place, helps her find her missing keys, they just show up magically when she needs them. And he leaves like cute heart outlined shapes in like spilled sugar on her kitchen island. So she gets a surprise on Halloween when that ghost actually materializes and knocks on her door on Halloween night. So she finds out that he has been trapped in her apartment for over 10 months, and he's just like super smitten with her and ready to prove his love. So yeah, this one's on KU. It's a super short like novella length, and it's really sweet. Next up is Bewitching the Boss by JESSA KANE. This one feels so different than other JESSA KANE reads, and like in a good way. Don't get me wrong, I love JESSA KANE novellas, but this one, yeah, just had a very different feel to it. So in this one, we get a little spin on things, and we have an experienced heroine and then a virgin hero. So after an accident 2 years in the past, the heroine has been stalking and following the hero because she wants to apologize and be punished by him. So she ends up getting hired to plan his work Halloween party. The hero is like this rich tech dude, and he just wants to like lavish her with gifts and treat her like a princess, while she wants and needs that punishment from him, especially in the bedroom. So they end up compromising and it all goes well. This one had a really emotional storyline to it, which I was surprised, like I mentioned, from JESSA KANE reads, and it was definitely lighter on the usual kink that JESSA KANE delivers. This one even has an epilogue with no kids in it because the couple has decided earlier on in the story that kids are not for them. Next up is A Tale of Two Cities. This one starts with a joint Halloween-themed bachelorette weekend in Vegas. So we get some fun Halloween going-ons and then a haunted house adventure. The heroine is actually a single mom. She co-parents her teenage daughter with her ex, and she's just ready to let loose for the Halloween weekend. So the heroine just wants to let off some steam in Vegas. She's there for her friend's bachelorette party, and then she meets the hero because he is there for the bachelor party because the guy getting married is his cousin. So these ones, they have instant attraction and they hit it off right away. They are both like the only ones who come down for the brunch in the morning because all the rest of their like party people, they're all sleeping. So it leads to the hero and heroine hanging out the entire weekend together. This one has a really fun friend group. I just loved all the going-ons with all the friends and all the fun that they have. This is a quick little novella, and it does end in a happily for now situation since the hero and heroine actually live far away, so they have like a long-distance relationship. This one is on Kindle Unlimited, and the author actually has novellas for the rest of the holidays as well. So there's one for Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's Eve, and Valentine's Day. Next up is Jack, and this is a short, steamy erotica novella. This one is on KU as well, and it's honestly just like a great magical time with an HEA. So in this one, the heroine is 36, and she actually does like readings with tarot cards for other people, but it's Halloween and she's feeling a bit lonely, so she decides, she's gonna like create her own HEA, or maybe just like have a good time. So she goes home, works some magic, and ends up creating like her perfect man as the hero. So that's when Jack the hero shows up, and he shows up exactly how he looks on the cover here. So the pumpkin head, the bright orange skin. So he shows up at her door and he's ready to show her some delicious times. This one is a lot of fun. It's definitely more like monster romance. The hero definitely has lots of fun things to share with her, including some ridges, some vibrating parts. He has some special pumpkin spice flavored, So yeah, this one was a fun time. So next up I have some rom-com or some lighter paranormal romance recs. So first up is Reborn Yesterday, and this is from Tessa Bailey. This is the first book in her paranormal romance series. In this one, the heroine is a mortician and a funeral home director, and she gets the shock of her life when one of the bodies on her embalming table wakes up. The hero, who is the one who wakes up, he's actually a vampire, and he freaks out as well because humans are not supposed to know that vampires exist in this world. So the hero actually plans to erase her memory since he's, able to do that, but they actually end up having a bond right away. And when she reveals a secret to him, things definitely get complicated, so he ends up taking her back to his house with him. Like I mentioned, this one is more lighthearted, rom-com style paranormal, but it is a lot of fun. Next up is The Dead Romantics. So in this one, the heroine for the past 5 years, she has been working as a ghostwriter for a very popular romance novelist, but she was recently burned by her ex and she's just not feeling the love. She's not feeling into romance. So she's kind of having like writer's block and doesn't have any romantic ideas to write about. So she sets out to meet her new editor at the publishing house and wants to tell him like, hey, I want to write like something else. Does it have to be like an HEA? Like, do we have to do romance? And like, she just wants to convince him that romance is dead and like she can write something else. But the hero, who is the new editor, he's actually like a really big romance reader fan, which I really loved. And he's like, this is a romance imprint. Like, we have to write HEAs. Like, you needed to deliver that and you needed to deliver it now within a month. So around the same time, the heroine's father actually passes away. And so she ends up taking off to go back to her hometown to be with her family. Her family actually owns a funeral home and the heroine has actually always been able to see ghosts. So on the first day home, the doorbell rings and she goes to answer it and ends up being the hero, and he's a ghost, and it is that editor that she, talked to before. So this one I really liked. Like I mentioned, it does deal with some heavier themes as well because the heroine, is grieving through the loss of her father. But yeah, I really like this romance, very quirky and fun, lighter on the steam, but definitely a great time. Next up, I have some recs with paranormal vibes, whether they're vampires or werewolves or witches or demons. So first up is Deal with the Demon, and this is a little quick Kindle Unlimited novella. So in this one, the heroine is a single mom to 2 teens, and she's just kind of trying to make ends meet, get the bills paid, all of that. So she actually ends up losing her job when the story starts, and she finds this like ad or pamphlet and it has like a QR code and it promises to help you find success. So she scans that. When she scans that, a demon shows up who ends up being the hero, and he's supposed to be at her beck and call for the next 28 days for like however it works to give her success. So this one was really fun. I liked how her and her kids both end up bonding with the demon right away. He helps out with like household chores, getting the kids' homework done, cooking meals. He's also super into art, which was fun, and just like super obsessed and crushing on the heroine. This one I was just super intrigued with the entire like demon realm and how the success company works. So yeah, this one was really fun. So next up is Taste, and this is also on Kindle Unlimited. This is a novella, and just as the series is called, which is Vampire Quickie, they're very short, quick reads. So in this one, the heroine is almost 200 years old, and she's very tired of being alone. Like, she's never met another vampire in her life, and she also can't seem to have a good time with anybody that she meets. So just as she decides she's going to create like a companion for herself, turn somebody else, the hero ends up showing up. So the hero is this like really mysterious guy, and he ends up showing up at her like neighborhood backyard parties. And he's ready to show her a good time, and also he seems to know her already. So this is a quick little novella, and it has a really interesting spin on vampire lore. Next up is Lick, which is also part of the Vampire Quickie series. Again, this is a novella on KU, very short and sweet. So in this one, the heroine is a human, and she has this job where she gets paid a ton of money, but she actually mentions at work, like, I don't exactly know what I'm doing. Like, I have all these tasks, but like, what am I really doing? When she starts asking these questions, she actually ends up getting fired. So when she gets fired, she's obviously pissed off. She finds the boss's address and shows up at his house, which actually ends up being the hero. So the hero is secretly a vampire, and when the heroine shows up at his house, he is assuming that she's dinner. So he figures it out just in time, with enough time to end up turning her into a vampire as well. So when she's turned into a vampire, she actually ends up finding out exactly what she's been doing this entire time for her job, and then ends up being her romance with her boss / the hero. And yeah, they're very quick and short and steamy on KU. Next up is What the Hex by Alexis Daria. This one is really fun in novella length. I actually listened to it on Audible last year, but I believe it just became available in ebook and a paperback print this year. This is a contemporary paranormal romance with witches and demons and necromancers. This one, the hero and heroine have been rivals for years, and they actually end up having to work together to rid their families of a demon who has possessed them. This one has a great banter and dialogue and steamy times. It's one of those like they've been rivals and they hate each other, but like, do they really hate each other? It's filled with tons of witchy puns and just like a really fun time. Next up is a super short vampire novella from Simone. I'm obsessed with this cover and love it so much. This one is super short. It's like 60 pages, if that, and it is a romance between a vampire and a priest turned vampire hunter. So when the story starts, the priest vampire hunter hero ends up seeing the vampire hero out having a, delightfully wicked time. And the vampire hunter, he decides, like, I want to get a little closer to this. Like, instead of going away, I'm actually like super intrigued by what's happening over here. So in this, the vampire hunting priest, who is a virgin hero as well, he ends up following the vampire back to his hideout and ends up asking him out on a date. This one is definitely super short and sweet. Like I mentioned, it is like less than 60 pages. I definitely wanted more from it, but that's just because I was enjoying it so much. Next up is The Witches of Wolves, and this is an MMF novella on KU. This one, the heroine actually ends up running away at the beginning of the story and goes into the woods to try to find solace, but she actually ends up happening across the two heroes and finding solace in their arms. So the heroes are both two wolf men who love each other, and they have enough room for more love in their hearts and in their bed with the heroine. This was just a delightfully sweet and steamy romp in the woods for this MMF novella on KU. Next up, I have some recs that are just more Gothic vibes. So first up is The Headmaster. Any chance I can talk about this book, I do, because I love it so much. Read it a few years ago, and it is just like absolutely perfect. So this is very sweet, romantic, Gothic story. So this one, the heroine is a school teacher, and she's just looking to start over. So she's on her way to a new school to apply at. So she ends up getting into an accident on the way there, and when she wakes up, she's in this boy's school, and the headmaster has saved her. It's her romance with the headmaster. So the story goes from there, and it's super sweet. It is like 150-ish pages, but it definitely feels like a full-length book, and I just love it so much. I actually wanted this story to last longer as well because I didn't want to leave this story or world at all. Next up is Gothicana by Rune X. This one right away just started off really strong, giving me those classic Gothic romance vibes. This one just has that spooky atmosphere. There's lots of like candelabras and lanterns being used. There's the whole like sexual awakening that often happens in Gothic romances. Lots of windy, rainy nights. There's even some scenes with the heroine running around in her nightgown outside. There's the dark woods, some mystery. There's definitely some haunted vibes to this, a very broody, possessive hero. The heroine has a lot of vivid nightmares. The school is like this dark, isolated castle in the mountains that has a very dark past to it. There's like old, creepy legends and hidden places. Like seriously, all the Gothic vibes you want, like it is in this book. This is a dark academia type setting, and it has that forbidden teacher-student relationship. The heroine is actually like 21, she's college age, and the hero is 27, but because of him being like a professor and her a student, like that's why it's forbidden. There's lots of murder mystery in this one, lots of things going on around the school. That's like an old castle. Definitely some amped up steamy times in here happening with the hero and heroine. This one, just be prepared going in that there's definitely a lot of unanswered questions at the end of the story, which is how the author wrote it and wanted it to be. So it feels like you're leading up to this aha moment the whole time, and that's not where it goes. Like the journey for what it is a lot of fun. Next up is A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. And in this one, the story starts with the main character, the heroine, writing this story to her ex-lover, Dracula. So I love this entire story. I really love the beautiful prose right from the start. It's written like diary entries or thoughts into the heroine's life. So it starts out with her being turned into a vampire, and over time you see how she starts off as this very much like, you know, in love, being swept away with this romance. Or over time she realizes she's in this manipulative relationship and she's being taken advantage of and lied to. So we get to see her as she struggles kind of with jealousy as her lover takes on more lovers, and like sometimes they share. This one definitely, I loved the Gothic moody vibe to it and loved seeing all the relationship dynamics at play. This one is shorter. It's less than 300 pages. I think the audiobook that I listened to was like a 5.5, 6 hour listen. This one, the story spans centuries, but it definitely felt like the perfect length, even though you kind of want a little bit more from it as well. But yeah, this was a great one. Next up is the Mind F series by S.T. Abbey. And this is a 5-book series, but they're all on Kindle Unlimited. And each book in the series is like 100, 150-ish pages. So they're definitely very easy to binge, and they do follow one couple for all 5 books. So basically in this one, the heroine is a serial killer, and she has a list and people she is taking out for reasons, which you learn throughout the series. And it is her romance with the hero, and he ends up being an FBI profiler who is actually working on her cases and looking for her without realizing that she's the one he's looking for. This one definitely grabs your attention right away. It has that very like cat and mouse dynamic to their relationship. I liked how when they first meet, they both kind of profile each other up. And this series just left me on the edge of the seat the whole time, like waiting for him to figure out who she is. This one has very dark content, lots of trauma, lots of on-page gore and crimes. So just know that going in, but it's definitely a great series. Next up, I have some historicals. So the first one is After Midnight by Teresa Medeiros. There is the cover. And there is that gorgeous step back. Love that Gothic moment. This one is moody and atmospheric. It definitely has that deliciously eerie Gothic romance vibe to it, but it's balanced really well with humor and fun as well. This one is filled with tons of moody late nights, kind of the gossip and paranoia of the rest of the people in the town talking about things. And it kind of just adds to all of that eerie, charming quality. So this story follows the heroine Caroline, and she's the oldest of 3 sisters. And when she was 16, she has kind of taken on the role of being the parent and guardian to her younger sisters. So now she's 24, she's definitely on the shelf, and she kind of gave up her own season and has been really frugal over her life to try to provide the best for her sisters instead of herself. So she's focused on her younger sister Vivian's season. Vivian is super sweet and demure, and she has kind of caught the eye of this much gossiped about Viscount. So the Tana is convinced that the hero, the Viscount, is a vampire. He only comes out at night. He's very like moody and broody. He's only seen out at like late night parties. And he's very charming, and he lives in this like Gothic mansion with gargoyles on it that he must be a vampire. When their younger sister hears about the gossip about the hero, she goes to her sister Caroline and is like, Vivian cannot marry this guy. He is a vampire. So Caroline just chalks it up to her sister being imaginative and like her obsession with paranormal reads. Then one night, Caroline is actually invited by the Viscount for an after midnight party with just him and her, and she kind of becomes charmed by this Viscount, so it leads from there. And then after you read this one, you're definitely going to want to pick up the second book in the series, which is The Vampire Who Loved Me. This is the step back of that one. Next up is A Lady of Brooksgrave Manor by Catherine Moon. This is the Hello Lovely box special edition that they did last year in their Monster Paranormal box. So this one is basically Victorian era, reverse harem, monster romance. So in this one, the heroine is unashamedly sexual and sensual, and she ends up actually going into this house, taking a job as a lady there, where the human women are there to service monster clients. So the heroine is definitely down for anything and everything, so we get tons of fun kinky times in this one. Like I mentioned, this is a why choose romance, so I love the heroine's relationship with all of the guys in her life. They all kind of bring something different to her, which I really enjoyed, and she definitely doesn't prefer one over the other. Like they all bring something different to the relationship, which I love to see. This one has all the monsters. There's vampires, there's fae, there's a golem, there's a sphinx, demons and werewolves, there's a Jekyll and Hyde, there's wraiths and witches, like all the paranormal creatures in here. So next up I have two series to recommend as well. So first up is the Immortals After Dark series by Cressley Cole. These of course have all the immortal and paranormal creatures, and I love these original clinch covers. So this is the first book in the series, which is A Hunger Like No Other. This one is actually between a werewolf and a vampire. Next up is No Rest for the Wicked, one of my favorites in the series, and this one the hero is a vampire. Third book is Wicked Deeds on a Winter's Night, and then the hero in this one is a werewolf. So then the fourth book in the series, which is Dark Deeds at Night's Edge, that's when they went away from the couple's clinch covers, which I'm so sad about. But this one is actually one of my favorites as well. So in this, the hero is a vampire and the heroine is a ghost. If you haven't checked out the Immortals After Dark series, definitely do. There's like so many books in that series. I still need to catch up, but those are the first four. Next up is the Stay a Spell series by Juliet Cross. This is a contemporary paranormal romance series set in New Orleans around some witch sisters. So all the sisters in the series have individual talents that can kind of help them with paranormal beings, and they all find their mates. The series has amazing steam and chemistry, lots of humor, lots of family, lots of fun. So book one is Wolf Gone Wild, and in this the hero is a werewolf, and he actually hasn't been able to shapeshift into his wolf form for the past 3 months. And so his wolf form has taken up residence in his head and talks all the time, and that is like his alter ego, which is Alpha. Alpha is definitely driving Mateo crazy because he just chats all the time. Mateo finds out about this hex-breaking witch, which is the heroine, and he goes to her to try to see if she can help him finally be able to shift into his werewolf form. Book two is Don't Hex and Drive, and this one we have a Bollywood actor turned vampire hero, and then the heroine is an introvert and she is a conduit witch. The hero moves in next door actually to these sisters in their neighborhood, and then one day he actually ends up running into the heroine when she is riding a bike home. She's definitely okay, but he feels terrible and wants to make amends with her, and he just goes out of his way to try to get her attention, but she has social anxiety and she'd rather hang out with animals instead of people, and so she's definitely trying to avoid him. Next up is book three, which is Witches Get Stitches, and in this one the heroine is a seer witch, and she actually wants to open up her own tattoo shop where she can enchant like charms onto paranormals that need permanent charms. So then the hero in this, he is a werewolf, he's a musician, and he's actually a cousin to the hero of book one. So the heroine and hero end up actually meeting on New Year's Eve when they're both in a different town together, and like more than just fireworks are going off at midnight. So then a year passes and he actually ends up moving to town where she is to be closer to his cousin, the hero of book one. And he ends up becoming friends with the heroine and kind of wants to help her as she gets her business/tattoo shop opened. So they actually become friends, and then now since they're business partners as well, the heroine definitely has feelings for him but is afraid to act on them just because she doesn't want to mess up their dynamic. And then the hero has known she's been his since 2 years ago on that New Year's Eve party. Book four is Always Practice Safe Hex, and this is one of my favorites in the series. This is between a grim hero and an influencer witch heroine. So this one has a bit of a workplace rival vibe, as the hero and heroine are both working on this PR contest together and have to work together on a project. The hero was gone from the heroine from day one, and I loved seeing her finally realize that. Definitely love this one. Which the fifth book in the series, Resting a Witch Face, actually comes out this month, and I can't wait to read it. And in that one, the hero is a vampire and the heroine is a witch, and they definitely have a past together. So those are all my Halloween, spooky time, romance recs. Let me know in the comments if you've read any of these, or if you plan to pick any up, or if you have any recs for me, I'd love to know as well. If you haven't done so yet, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of my future videos, and I'll see you in my next one.